I hear you. We lost like 10 seconds of you. No, it's okay. But it was a great game. She did great. The team did great. Next is Sacramento, right? We're waiting on who wins the UCLA Oklahoma State, right? Matchup.
That is correct. That game is a late night, 9 o'clock, and then they'll play on Friday out in Sacramento against the winner of that game, which everybody is saying it'll be UCLA.
Yeah. Okay. We'll see. But sometimes it's the underdogs. We'll see. We'll see what happens, I guess. Uh-oh. It just went black. Everything just went black. I knew it, though.
He just went away.
He was a little choppy, and then we just started going.
He is back now, but I think for the sake of
time.
Yeah, for the time, we'll send Jimmy on his way. We appreciate, we love that shot there with the lake behind him.
It was beautiful.
Did you, as most of the time, I'm only kind of
Welcome here to the afternoon shift. It is Monday, March 23rd. I'm Adam Lorenz. We're going to begin today on a very somber note. We're remembering the life and legacy of our friend Jessie Pierce, who died alongside her 3 children during a house fire early Saturday morning in White Bear Lake. She was a Minnesota Wild beat reporter for NHL.com, co-hosted the Bar Down Beauties podcast, one of the best podcasts out there in the entire country covering the sport of hockey. And she was a frequent contributor here on the afternoon shift. She came right here inside Studio 9 on several occasions. She was our go-to contact when there was any story related to the Wild or the sport of hockey in general. I'll never forget singing the hockey song, the good old hockey game song with her at the beginning of one of our segments as well. When we got the news of her passing, it hit all of us here on the afternoon shift on a very deep level. We send our deepest thoughts, prayers, condolences out to her family, to all of her friends, to all of her loved ones. Jessie Pierce, you were gone too soon, a very good soul, and you will be sorely missed both here at the afternoon shift, in the state of Minnesota, and across the country for hockey fans everywhere. All right, let's get to the rest of our show today. It is an absolutely jam-packed show that we've got coming up for you all. I know the biggest headline out there in the entire country right now has been the situation happening at airports. Extremely long lines at TSA checkpoints. You just saw today President Trump deploying ICE agents to several airports nationwide to help with those long lines. And then on top of that, breaking overnight, there was a collision, a deadly collision at New York's LaGuardia Airport that took the lives of 2 Air Canada pilots as well. Just so much happening with airports. So we're going to be bringing into the conversation the host of the Thrifty Traveler podcast, Gunnar Olson, to help us explain all of that and more. And Grace Henry, our producer today as well, joining me here.
Hi. I just wanted to bring an image of the plane crash from earlier today. We have it, a live image. I'll take it in full so that people can really see. But you're seeing right now, this is a shot from LaGuardia Airport where the airplane had an accident with a fire truck.
Yeah, just an extremely sad and unfortunate situation there at LGA, shutting down the entire airport until 2 o'clock Eastern time. And of course, that impacts flights nationwide, flights coming in and out of LGA. So horrific situation there. Yeah. We're going to be talking to Gunnar Olson more about that at 3:15. At the bottom of the hour at 3:30, the Minnesota Gophers women's basketball team, they are dancing. They're in the Sweet 16 for the first time since 2005. Incredible accomplishment for the Gophers. We're going to be talking to one of their beat reporters from the Minnesota student newspaper called the Minnesota Daily. That'll be coming up at 3:30. And then towards the end of the hour, we're going to be staying right there in Dinkytown, where Greg May is going to be introduced as the new head coach for the Gopher women's hockey program. He's got one of the coolest nicknames in all of collegiate hockey. They call him Boom. Greg Boom May, the new head coach of the women's hockey team. He had been the associate head coach for the last couple of seasons. He will be giving an introductory press conference towards the end of the hour, and we will be bringing that to you live in its entirety. We do have some headlines to get to, but I know we were just talking about airports now, and we have Fox 9 reporter Rob Olson that is joining us live right now from MSP with the latest on the situation there. Rob, my friend, how are you?
Good. I am in the overlook level here at MSP International. Just spent some time down there and down in a baggage claim, and I can tell you that right now the wait time here on both checkpoints, you can see that down there, less than 5 minutes.
I was going to say, Rob, it looks extremely calm at MSP right now. Yeah, I've never seen it that empty, actually.
It's well, it's a lull time right now. Yeah. Obviously, your busier times are in the morning, and then later in the afternoon, early evening. But right now, and I've been, watching these all day here, and it's less than 5 minutes for the security screening at both ends. And this is something that, as other airports struggle with TSA checkpoints, it is still, yet to really be reflected here, at least in terms of what we've seen over these weeks. And, we did confirm with the Metropolitan Airports Commission today that, there's been no notification from the federal government that there'd be any federal agents coming here to help out. And, you can see why, is because there hasn't been a problem to address here at this point.
Yeah. And I know just from my own recent experience as well, the lines at TSA, even on those weekend morning times, have been extremely manageable. So the people at TSA, at MSP, doing a very good job at keeping the lines moving and the lines in check and everything. And I know you just said there, no signs of any DHS agents at MSP. Are you anticipating seeing any ICE agents there?
No, not at this point. I mean, according to the Metropolitan Airports Commission, they've had no indication that is in the works for the Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport. So no, I mean, unless there is a problem at this point, no indication that would be anything that is needed here. We did talk to somebody that just came in from Atlanta, who'd flown out of there around noon or so. Said she got to the airport about 4 hours early. And it took her a little over 2 hours to get through security in Atlanta. So that continues to be one of the problem spots. Certainly when I've flown through Atlanta, it can be it's a major hub for flights, especially changing flights. So, it can be busy there anyway. Certainly right now we've seen the stories, seen the videos from Atlanta where lines are wrapping into the parking ramps, et cetera. But she said, yes, it was an over 2 hour wait. And she did see federal agents there at the airport this morning in Atlanta, but said from what she could see, there wasn't much that they were doing or could do, that the airport staff was dealing with some of the traffic flow in terms of the lines, that the ICE agents weren't really doing much of anything in her observation, because the question is, they're not trained to run the checkpoints themselves, the screening areas. They're there to assist with moving lines around and et cetera. But she said that was pretty well under control this morning. Just they are so far down in TSA agents to run the actual checkpoints themselves. When she got to the front, she said she saw two that were running kind of multiple lines coming in and out of there. So, the question becomes, even with federal agents there, how much will that alleviate some of these issues?
Yeah. Rob Olson at MSP Airport, thank you so much. I expect that we'll see you here in the Fox 9 News evening newscast as well, reporting from MSP.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you, Rob. We appreciate you. Thank you. That was great reporting there by Rob. And like I said, at 3:15, we'll be having Gunnar Olson, the host of the Thrifty Traveler podcast, coming on as well to talk about airport issues happening all across the country and talking about what's going on right now at MSP as well. All right, let's get into some headlines here before we get to Gunnar Olson. Let's talk about the weather. Grace, you know what? Let's bring you here into the conversation because I know you really enjoyed the Saturday weather that we had here, correct?
Oh, absolutely. I was outside pretty much all day, got out at 9 a.m. and had brunch, and from then on just was walking around. We didn't have any really big plans, just sat on some benches and drank some iced coffee. I mean, it was perfect. You really can't complain. You missed it. You were out of town.
I wasn't here on Saturday just for 24 hours, and so I missed all of the great weather on Saturday, but I heard it was awesome, and I saw a graphic this morning. It almost got to 80 degrees, which is insane.
It was hot. I was in a tank top and shorts, which just, it felt crazy, but I got my freckles came back, but my boyfriend, he got a little sunburnt. So that's always fun though. It was we're both very pale from the winter, so you get a little burnt. You get burnt more easily, but yeah, it was fantastic. And I mean, I think the temps are just they always are a little rocky through the month of March and April, but they're gonna get back up to the 60s by midweek, I think.
Yeah. So you go from 80 degrees on Saturday to yesterday, it was a high in the low 40s. Today, a little bit higher than the low 40s, but yes, you're correct. By Wednesday, Fox 9 saying right now 64 degrees. It's going to be on Wednesday.
Wow.
Then they're going to cool off a little bit Thursday, Friday until it warms up again this weekend. So, yes, I think a rocky roller coaster is what we're on right now.
For sure. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, though.
Absolutely. Everybody needs some warm weather, especially after the winter that we had. Those temperatures in January where it was in the negative 20s, negative 30s. We will welcome any and all warm weather with some sunshine as well. All right, let's stay right here in the state of Minnesota. Some new acts announced for the 2026 Minnesota State Fair. TLC, Don't Go Chasing Waterfalls, Salt and Pepper, and In Vogue. They're the latest acts to be announced for the State Fair. The concert is scheduled for Saturday, September 5th. Get it in your calendar. Tickets go on sale on Thursday. I am expecting these tickets, Grace, to go by very quickly, although it won't be a full supported TLC group. You can't really have TLC without Lisa Left Eye Lopez, one of the founding members of it. I love the song Don't Go Chasing Waterfalls. One of the best.
No Scrubs is my favorite.
No Scrubs. Great song, too. Yeah. Great song. So
this will be fun. I was texting my mom, and we're thinking about maybe getting tickets. I do expect them being a little spendier than maybe some of the other acts, but yeah, I mean, what a great. I mean, I feel like even individually they could sell out the grandstand, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It'll be fun to see them all together.
Yeah, I think Salt and Pepper, they got one of the song, Push It Real. Yeah. Isn't that their song? I think it is. Yeah. So I don't know about In Vogue, though. I can't really speak off the top of my head about that.
Yeah, me neither. Paul and I, we both didn't remember that group, but I'm sure they're fantastic.
Yeah,
so.
I think these are all 90s groups.
Yeah,
so if you're a child of the 90s, these are all groups that you know and love, all coming to the Minnesota State Fair. And I think the Beach Boys are also coming to the State Fair as well. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. Or is there something? I heard some chatter about the Beach Boys and the State Fair.
I feel like the Beach Boys, they make their rounds around Minnesota. They oftentimes perform at the different casinos.
Okay.
So they very well might be at the State Fair, but I know they have been at I think Treasure Island and a couple other casinos.
Gotcha.
You know.
Gotcha. Yeah. You got to go see these some of these bands while you have them, especially with the Beach Boys now not complete without Brian Wilson, of course, the lead singer, the lead instrumentalist is there as well. But TLC, Salt and Pepper, In Vogue, all coming to the Minnesota State Fair this fall. We're so excited to see them there. Okay, we're going to go to commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to bring on, I would say, a top 5 guests in the history of the afternoon shift. Mr. Gunnar Olson, the host of the Thrifty Traveler podcast. He is so well informed. He breaks it all down for us in a very easy to understand way. So many issues right now affecting airlines and airports and flights and whatnot. Gunnar is here to break it all down for us. So some airport talk coming up right after this commercial break. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back here to the afternoon shift. If you have been paying attention to the news, you know that the airport is at the top of everybody's mind right now. There's been all these issues, long lines at TSA checkpoints all across the country due to the DHS shutdown. Today, President Trump deploying ICE agents to select airports nationwide to help with those long lines. And then on top of all of that, a really sad and fatal situation overnight at New York's LaGuardia Airport involving a collision between an Air Canada jet and a fire truck, resulting in the deaths of 2 Air Canada pilots. So lots of airport news to get to. Let's bring in the host of the Thrifty Traveler podcast, Gunnar Olson, for the latest on all of it. Gunnar, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks for having me. Anytime.
Thanks for being here. All right, so Gunnar, in our first segment today, we went to Fox 9 reporter Rob Olson live at MSP Airport. And I got to tell you, Gunnar, it was very calm, almost eerily calm at MSP. The checkpoint time's 5 minutes on both the north and the south ends. Why do you think MSP isn't feeling the pinch? We see all these images from Bush Airport and Houston and ATL and ORD. All these airports look horrible. Why is MSP seems rock solid right now?
I know MSP always seems to be so resilient, right? It's the airport that seems unfazed by things that are happening all over the world and all over the country. And even when we get big snowstorms, it seems like things only shut down for a few minutes here and there. But MSP is, like you said, always rock solid for some reason. But I think, as this drags on, if this drags on, a partial government shutdown, we could be seeing some TSA lines get longer and longer as the TSA agents who are working unpaid right now at MSP might just get fed up over time.
And so you're saying that if this DHS shutdown continues on, MSP could feel the sting?
Yeah, they could. And there's no telling, which shift we'll see which TSA agents call in sick and things like that. So I can't guarantee that your flight next Thursday is going to have the same 5-minute line that the flights this morning we're seeing. But as of right now, MSP is still doing pretty good.
Yeah. We're talking about a very busy travel time coming up, too, for MSP. I think I read this upcoming weekend, the #1 spring break travel weekend that there is on the entire season. And then, of course, the weekend after that is Easter weekend. A lot of people traveling for that. If this DHS thing continues through this weekend and even into next weekend, Easter weekend, a big holiday weekend for a lot of people, do you think that would you advise people to maybe reconsider their arrival time at MSP going forward?
Yeah, I think there are several things you can do when TSA situations arise like this, and it's all about controlling what you can control, which is really not that much. But if you get to the airport early, no matter what time your flight is, worst case is you sail through in 5 minutes and you have a couple extra minutes to go get a coffee or a beer and relax before your flight. That's worst case if you get there really early. But, if you're really nervous about it and you don't think you can get there early or just you're worried about going to the airport in general, it's time right now to look into alternative flights or lodging even. If you have a tricky connection or you're flying out of an airport that does have some of these issues, if you're in Atlanta or Houston watching this and you're thinking, man, I got to get back to MSP here. Are the lines going to be too tricky? Look into some alternatives. At the last minute, you're not going to pay a really competitive rate. You're going to pay a lot, but it's going to help you in the long run having just another option. And then if you do have that option, if you're in a place like New York City or one of the major U.S. cities, look at some alternative airports where the situation isn't as bad, or some alternative modes of transportation. It might be time to go get in a rental car or ride Amtrak and find your way home that way. So there are things that you can do. There are tools at your disposal if you're waiting till the last minute.
Yeah, Gunnar, let's get into some Minnesotans you just kind of briefly referenced there that might be in some of these higher impact zones of these TSA, wait times. Atlanta, one of them, Houston being another one of them. What would you recommend people doing if they find themselves in those cities and they're trying to get back home? How early is too early to get to the airport?
So there are ways that you can check the current TSA wait times, and those are on the airport's websites. Typically, those are the most accurate ones. There are some other resources out there that use kind of like cell phone data to see where lines are longer. Most often, the best data you're going to get is straight from the airport. So pull up that page, refresh it a few times. But at this point, we saw wait times at Atlanta and Houston that were about 4 hours long over the weekend. So I would say that you can't be too early. Get there as early as you can, and like I said, control what you can control. And really the hard part about all this is these are things that you can protect yourself against in the future. It's hard if you're right now sitting there thinking, what am I going to do to get home? But, doing things like signing up for TSA PreCheck, which is, it's not for fancy people. I know it looks like a fancy person line over there, but it's $78 for 5 years of TSA PreCheck. And I took 6 flights in the last 2 weeks. I never waited more than 4 minutes with my TSA PreCheck. It's the best travel tool that there is. So get yourself protected for next time with a TSA PreCheck membership. And, there are other things like TSA PreCheck has this touchless ID where you can just kind of slide through really quickly. They take a photo of your face, a scan of your face, and you're in really quickly. And that's usually its own separate line at some of these busiest airports. And you get the same thing with products like Clear Plus, which is rather expensive, but some credit cards offer to cover it for you. So you can kind of skip the line with some of those tools as well.
Yeah, and that PreCheck touchless ID line at MSP, like you said, it is a separate line, even separate from the regular PreCheck line. And from my own personal experience, you don't even stop walking as soon as you get through the airport. You are in and out of through security. Your feet are literally moving the entire time. So I highly recommend that from my own personal experience as well. Okay, let's talk about travel insurance. A lot of people purchase international travel insurance to help them in these situations when they're traveling internationally. Are you recommending people maybe look at some domestic travel insurance during this strange time with this DHS shutdown?
The tricky part about travel insurance is that all the details are in the fine print, and you might be surprised at what some travel insurance policies do and do not cover. Many of the incidents or problems that we're seeing at airports would not usually be covered by a travel insurance policy unless you have a very, very high-end one. If you're a business traveler who's on the road 100 nights a year and you have a very all-encompassing travel insurance package, that can help you there. But most travel insurance won't cover situations like this. So what my colleagues and I do at Thrifty Traveler, we're searching for airfare all the time and trying to find the cheapest fares, is we just point people to that main cabin fare. Don't book basic economy. Get that next fare class up, because that usually gives you at least some protections where if you need to cancel, you can get your money back or at least a voucher towards future travel. And then, use your points and miles too. That's the best travel insurance there is, because then you're not in the whole, $400 for your ticket. You're just in the whole a couple thousand points. And if you have to cancel, you get all your points refunded back into your account. So those are some of the things we do instead of travel insurance, unless like I said, you have one of those big, fancy, expensive travel insurance policies, which might cover you, in a broader sense when some incidents or, long lines or TSA problems like this happen.
Yeah. Hey, so Gunnar, this is another question I've been curious about. If you are in a TSA line and you're just in the line for too long, you miss your flight, what happens? Does the airline just automatically rebook you on the next available flight, which that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be 1 or 2 hours. That could mean several hours, correct?
Correct. So the airlines, depending on the airline, but most airlines will rebook you right away. They'll, see once you miss the plane, they'll put you on the next one, or, reroute you with a connection somewhere. If you're flying Delta back to Minneapolis, that usually probably means you're going through Atlanta at some point. So I think, the airlines will typically be proactive. What I would do if you're stuck in one of these lines, you're going to miss your flight, I would get on the phone with the airline. I would get your airline app out at the same time and maybe even start a chat with them. Get as many points of contact as you can with that airline to make sure that you get an agent who's ready for you, because their problem is there are going to be a lot of people who are experiencing the same thing at the same time. So agents have been very busy. I would try every method of communication you can to get a hold of your airline and see what they have for you. They might rebook you on something that is not ideal, and another agent might have a better opportunity for you. So talk through all your opportunities. Look for the flight that you want to take. If you know there's a flight you want to be rebooked on, come armed with all of your information, right? Your flight number, your confirmation number. Don't make the agents wait. Give them exactly what you want. If they can help you, they're more likely to in that case.
Yeah. It's talking to an agent sometimes is a really great thing, just to have that human to human contact. But these apps have gotten so great too, Gunnar, as well, where it's easy to make changes and whatnot and whatnot too. Let's talk about the situation that's happening right now at LaGuardia Airport. There was a collision between an Air Canada jet and a fire truck there. The entire airport shut down until 2:00 Eastern time. How does that impact flights that aren't even involving LaGuardia, jets that are where LaGuardia is either the destination or the origin.
Yeah, I mean, all these airlines are all hyper connected, right? The plane that you're taking over to Denver at 2 p.m. on Delta has probably been to 2 or 3 cities already by the time it gets to MSP to take you to Denver. That's the reality of air travel. That's how they make money, flying these very, very expensive machines all over. So delays and cancellations, a whole day almost of cancellations at LaGuardia due to this horrible incident is going to have ramifications down the line. So check on your flights to make sure that everything is okay, but there will most likely be cancellations kind of cascading out of this. And that also means more travelers trying to get onto planes that are already almost full, right? You said it's spring break week too. So it's one of the busiest times of the year to fly, and there aren't a lot of seats available if your flight does get canceled. So like I said, be proactive, check on your flights. But yes, this situation in LaGuardia will almost certainly have cascading effects in the industry, especially for airlines like Delta, who have a large presence at LaGuardia.
Yeah. We're talking about spring break week. Maybe there are some people out there, Gunnar, that are looking for some very, very last minute spring break travel. Are there any sort of hot cities right now that you look into that have some cheap airfare going out of MSP?
Man, I would just say at this point, you got to follow the deal, because it's going to be hard for you to find your way to Phoenix or Florida or Hawaii for spring break if you're booking at the very last minute, unless you have deep pockets. But I think what you should do right now, if I were a traveler looking to book spring break right now, I would go to Google Flights. I would type in Minneapolis in the departure cities box, and I'd leave the arrival cities box completely blank. And then I would just put in my desired dates and hit search. And what it'll do is it'll bring up a full map of the United States or the world or wherever you want to go, and you can see where the cheapest fares are that still remain. And you might be surprised, something could jump out at you there. I've found some crazy bargains traveling at the last minute doing this before. It's one of our favorite tools. It's called Google Flights Explore, and all you do is leave that destination blank and just let Google do the work for you. It's pretty amazing.
Are you sure the cheapest flight isn't going to be to like Omaha, Nebraska or something? And no offense to Omaha, but I don't know if people are looking to go there for spring break.
Well, there's always that possibility, but I don't know. Maybe you could get lucky. I mean, sometimes with these low-cost carriers too, the Southwests and Frontiers and Spirits. We no longer have Spirit service here, but they'll offer some really cheap stuff at the last minute down to places like Orlando or Phoenix. So you could get lucky. You could stumble onto something nice to a destination you actually want to go to. Otherwise, Omaha, not so bad this time of year.
Not so bad this time of year. Not so bad. Much better during the College World Series, but that's a different story. Gunnar, thank you so much for all of your time. We really do appreciate all of your insights, and thanks for coming on.
Of course, anytime.
All right, we appreciate you. Thank you so much. Maybe you could book a flight. Okay, here's an idea. Maybe you could book a flight to go see the Gopher women's basketball team play in the Sweet 16. Go to the regional. That's the flight that you want to get on. They are going to go dancing in that Sweet 16 round for the first time since 2005. They had a very dramatic win over the Ole Miss Rebels yesterday, winning 65-63. We're going to go to commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to bring into the conversation Samantha Roaring. She is a Minnesota Daily reporter. It's the Minnesota Student newspaper. She has been all over the Gophers women's beat from the get-go. We're so excited to talk to Samantha and talk all about the Gopher women's basketball team coming up right after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the afternoon shift. We were just talking about flights in the last segment. Where you want to fly to is Sacramento, because that's where you're going to be able to see the Minnesota women's basketball team on Friday night taking on the winner of Oklahoma State UCLA. That game is later tonight. The Gophers are in the Sweet 16 for the first time since '05. Very dramatic win over Ole Miss yesterday. Sam Raring, a reporter for the Minnesota Daily, was at the game yesterday, and she joins us now inside Mariucci Arena. Sam, you're a very busy person right now. You were at the game last night. You're going to be at the new Gopher women's head coach hockey press conference here shortly. We appreciate you making time for us.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. Hey, can you take us inside Williams Arena yesterday at the game? What was that experience like? What was that atmosphere like? What happened down the stretch there? It was a very exciting ending.
I mean, it was an incredible atmosphere, and it has been all season, but it really just took it up to a whole nother notch this weekend. And especially yesterday, just there were so many moments where you could tell the crowd just wanted to burst with excitement. And so in those last few minutes, when Mara Braun's three-pointer goes in, then Amaya Battle gets the game winner, it was just absolutely electric. And it was great for the fans to be a part of that moment.
Were you a part of the press conference with Coach Dawn after the game? If so, what did she have to say? What was her sort of body language?
She had a lot to say. And one of the things that I wanted to specifically point out was she was talking about Braun and Battle. And one of her quotes was that they're leaving a legacy in Minnesota. And I think that's one of the coolest things is that they're both Minnesotan players and they've stuck around through it all. And I mean, they're playing for their home team and they now get to go to the Sweet 16 and represent that.
No doubt, no doubt. I know Minnesota women's basketball, they absolutely love their Minnesota players, and very cool that the Gophers are led by two of our own as well. Okay, so they're going to go on, and they're going to play the winner of Oklahoma State, UCLA, this Friday in the Sweet 16. It's likely going to be UCLA, Sam, okay? And UCLA kind of took care of the Gophers in January. They beat them by 18. No slouch, UCLA, the second best team in the country, the champions of the Big Ten tournament. Why do you think the Gophers can make this experience with UCLA different than the first one?
I mean, I think it just comes down to having more experience. They've now played in the national tournament. And that's an experience they didn't have last time they played at UCLA. Mm-hmm. And I think they've really been tested over the last few months. Just some of their big wins against Ohio and Iowa. And they have a really strong sense of belief right now. And I think as a team, when you believe in yourself, good things will happen. And just they all have that belief and they all genuinely like being around each other. That was one of the things that I was talking to Amaya Battle about. On Selection Sunday, I asked her, what makes you guys so dangerous in comparison to other teams? And she was like, we all like each other. We have the power of friendship on our side. So obviously, they just have a good chemistry. And I think they now have more confidence. And I think that's where it could be different this time around.
Yeah. What does their schedule look like this week before they head out to Sacramento? When are they flying out? Are they getting into practice today? Do they have today off?
I'm not sure exactly what their schedule looks like. I imagine they'd be flying out probably Wednesday. I'm anticipating probably Friday game, and then they're probably going to have a presser on Thursday. So it'll be a busy week, and they're definitely going to be busy in practice, just trying to prepare for what's most likely going to be a UCLA rematch.
Yeah.
What has the vibe been on campus? Have people just been completely invested in March Madness? Has it been really exciting? What is the environment at the U like right now?
It's been really cool. Obviously, the student section this weekend was really packed, really busy. Some of the bars, people were out there pre-gaming before the women's basketball games, which is really cool to see that happening for women's sports. So I think obviously it's a big deal to have a team in the national tournament. And I mean, the students are loving it so far.
Yeah. Will you be on the plane to Sacramento with the team?
That is the hope. The Minnesota Daily, we're looking into taking a flight out there and covering the games.
Have so much fun if you get out there, and make sure you get a double from In-N-Out while you're in the great state of California. Listen, we said at the top, you're inside Mariucci Arena at any minute now. The new hot women's Minnesota women's hockey coach, Greg May, he's going to be formally introduced. Can you tell our viewers what we can expect to see during this press conference that we have here coming up?
I mean, really just expect him to lay the groundwork for what he's about to build these next 4 years. They signed him for 4 years, so I think that they're really just looking to build off of. They kind of left off on a note that they didn't really enjoy with losing the quarterfinals. And it kind of feels like an end of an era there because Abby Murphy's gone, Nellie Layton, and really that whole senior class. It's turning the page to a new era. They have some good recruits coming in, I've heard. So I think he's really just going to set the tone for what's to come. And he's obviously been a fantastic assistant coach from the bench. And he's done a lot of good stuff with U18 women's too. They had a great tournament. So he does bring a lot of good experience.
Yeah. Can you tell our viewers, how did he get his nickname Boom? I think it's like one of the coolest nicknames I've ever heard.
I have no idea. When he actually did a presser, there was a week where Frost wasn't available. Some of us media people were like, how did he get his nickname? And we were like, that's kind of a really cool nickname to have. Yeah. I imagine it has something to do with hockey because he played himself. So
Yeah, it should be awesome. Maybe he'll get into that during this press conference here. Sam Raring, a beat reporter for the Minnesota Daily. We really appreciate you making time for us. I know you're very busy, got a lot of things going on, and we're going to watch this press conference just like you are here momentarily. So thank you so much for making some time for us, and best of luck to you, and hope you get onto that plane to Sacktown, and if you do, enjoy your time out there in California's capital city.
Yes, thanks for having me.
All right. Thank you, Sam. Appreciate it. That's great. Great vibes right now with the Minnesota women's basketball team. Sam said it best. They have the power of friendship on their side. Mara Braun, Amaya Battle, among other players. Coach Don has got it going on out there in Dinkytown. Good luck to the Minnesota women's basketball team. And if you're curious about who they're going to play in the Sweet 16, you can watch number 8 Oklahoma State versus number 1 UCLA. That game is tonight at 9 o'clock. Minnesota will play the winner of that game in Sacramento on Friday. All right, let's go to commercial break. And when we come back, as promised, we're going to go to that press conference happening at Mariucci Arena for the introduction of new Gopher women's hockey coach Greg May. He was the associate head coach for the last couple of years. He's been a head coach for Augsburg's men's hockey, led them to 2 NCAA tournament appearances, and was also the director of operations for the Minnesota men's hockey team from 2019 to 2021. They called the man Boom. How can you not like him? So the press conference for Boom May, the new Minnesota women's the Minnesota women's hockey coach, coming up right after this commercial break. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the afternoon shift. Minnesota, here comes the boom. Boom May. He is the brand new Minnesota women's hockey coach. We're so excited to have him join this historic Gophers women's team. He's been a part of the team for the last couple years as the associate head coach, and momentarily he will be formally introduced as the Minnesota women's hockey head coach. This is all happening at Mariucci Arena, where I know Grace Henry has spent many a nights cheering on the Minnesota hockey team. Grace, you excited about this move?
I think so. I'm curious to hear what he has to say, but I really hope that he's just able to bring a really good energy to the team, and he creates a team that people want to go out and want to watch and want to support, because I mean it's how it has always been. I feel like the men's hockey team always attracts a lot more viewership than the women's team. So I'm looking forward to, like Sam said in the previous segment, like kind of turning a new page and welcoming a new era, especially as the Frost gains popularity and the PWHL just becomes a more bigger deal, and it gains more viewership, because it's so fun. I mean, have you been to Mariucci?
I have for a men's game.
Okay.
Yeah, and I saw them play my alma mater, Notre Dame, last year, and it was great. And you could feel the history when you're in there. I mean, this is the same ice where Herb Brooks played and coached. I mean, this is like it's historic. It's sacred ground almost in the sport of hockey. Not even almost. It definitely is in the state for the sport of hockey. And so I think that this is a great move. And Minnesota got kind of one of their own. Somebody already from inside the team. It looked like Sam Raring was a huge fan of Boom May here. So I'm excited about this.
Yeah, we'll have to see. And I'm seeing the camera, and I can pull it up. I'm a little. We'll see how the audio is. But Goldie's running around in front of the podium, so maybe we can take a look. But yeah, I mean, I'm very. Mariucci is a very interesting environment. It's nothing bougie, but it's a really cool space to be in. I graduated in there. Most of my friends all graduated in Mariucci. It definitely is sacred ground at the University of Minnesota, even more so than Huntington Bank Stadium than the football. I mean, it is a much harder to get season tickets for the football or for the hockey team versus the football team. So I think that speaks to the culture at Minnesota, that hockey is pretty much up to par in terms of what students value as football.
Yeah, I could definitely see that too. And you mentioned the success of the Minnesota Frost and the past success of the Minnesota women's hockey team, and all of this to say too. How about the Team USA women's team winning gold medal this year? So there's expectations now are very high. It's not just good enough just to get to the dance. You're going to want to win the dance, and especially if you're a program like Minnesota, the time is now to really kind of capitalize on this momentum and really make sure that you're in the best position going forward, like Sam said, for the next 4 years.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I've said, the women's team just have not been drawing as big of crowds as the men's team. But like you said, like just off of the Olympics and off of the PWHL, I'm hoping that a new era is brought in where people just recognize the talent of these female athletes. And oftentimes, it looks like it's getting started, so we'll actually go straight to that.
The hockey community is a family, and everybody that knew her loved her. We got to know her a little bit at the 2024 Frozen Four, and we hosted in St. Paul. And her loss is tragic. The loss of her 3 children is tragic, and we're holding her family and everyone affected by that in our hearts. So thank you for allowing us to do that. A little bit of run of show for the press conference today. We'll have Director of Athletics Mark Coyle up here in a moment. Mark will give a brief opening statement. He'll introduce new women's hockey head coach Boom May. Coach May will come up here, give an opening statement. Then he'll take questions. And then we'll bring Director of Athletics Mark Coyle back up to the podium for questions about Coach May and our women's hockey program. At the conclusion of that press conference, we will bring Director of Athletics Mark Coyle back up, and he will answer questions about the men's hockey program. So thank you again, and now I'd like to introduce Mark Coyle.
All right, good afternoon. It's so exciting to see so many of you, and I want to, every time you do one of these press conferences, you're always excited because it's a new day for a program and just super, super excited. Before I introduce Boom, I just want to take a second. I want to make sure I thank President Cunningham, our board leadership. They are so supportive. of Gopher Athletics, and we really appreciate their support. And President Cunningham, again, is a stalwart for our program, and we're grateful for her support and our board leadership. I also want to take a second to thank the student athletes. I see some of them back there. Anytime you go through a coaching transition, it creates anxiety in our student athletes. When I had a chance to visit with them, were great. Had a chance to talk to them yesterday when I was in St. Louis, and they were back here and had a good conversation, but really grateful for their leadership and how they handled everything. And I want to thank the search committee. Travis Cameron, who's our sport administrator, led our search committee. Tricia Butke, Mike Wiersbicki, Ginny Yalen, Stephanie Davis, and our faculty athletic rep, Don Dangle, all did a wonderful job as we worked our way through the search process. And I can tell you when we started this process last week, we talked about doing a national search. We talked to people all across the country in the women's hockey world, and the one name that kept coming up was Boom. And as we talked to more and more people, we started to learn more about him. Obviously, he's been here for the past few years, and we saw him firsthand and what he's done with our program. And I can't tell you how excited we are that he is our new head coach. So with that, please welcome head coach Boom May.
All right, thanks for being here. I appreciate your support. Want to start with a number of thank yous as well. President Cunningham, Mark Coyle, Travis Cameron, the search committee, our current roster, our current players that are in here as well. Just for your belief and trust in me to be the third head coach in the history of this storied program. I'm extremely honored, proud, grateful for this opportunity. I can tell you I and our staff are going to work tirelessly and leave no stone unturned as we get this women's hockey program back to national championship level that we all know and want. My wife Lainey and my two daughters are here as well. My wife Lainey, my daughters Marina and Coco. I want to publicly thank them. For those of you that know, life as a coach's wife is not something many sign up for. And being the daughter of a coach brings a lot of challenges as well to the table. They are truly the biggest Gopher fans, and I know that their support is not gonna stop here. So their support means the world to me. I truly couldn't do this without you guys, especially to the level that it deserves. I want to thank my parents. My parents are here as well. My parents have been my biggest fan through every stop, and I just know again that that's going to continue here in this new spot. Lastly, just want to take the opportunity to thank two coaches, Bob Motzko and Brad Frost. Those of you that don't know, Bob gave me a chance here 7 years ago with the men's program. Took a chance on a high school hockey coach here in Minnesota with no collegiate coaching experience or experience at all, and really allowed me to chase a dream. And then, of course, I want to thank Frosty. Also took a huge chance on me 3 years ago. Having spent 16 years on the men's side with little to no experience on the women's side, Frosty had the belief that my skills would just translate really smoothly to the women's side as well. I just owe him a ton for not only giving me that opportunity to move to the women's side, but for his mentorship and leadership. Frosty is truly one of the greatest men I've ever been around. I really look forward to his continued mentorship and staying in touch with him and having him close to our program. To say I'm excited is an understatement. I had the chance to talk to our team today in the locker room, which was just a blast in this new position. Again, I thank them for the support over these last few days. Over these last few days, I've had the opportunity to talk to so many people in the women's college hockey game and just women's hockey in general. And the one thing that became so evident to me, and just a reminder for me that I had mentioned to our players as well this morning, but Gopher women's hockey was really the program that set the standard for what women's college hockey is today across the country. And we don't take that lightly. It's our job to build upon that legacy that people like Laura Halderson and Frosty and really all the Gopher greats that wore the M and who came before this new era of Gopher hockey, put forth in front of us. I want to be clear on one thing. This is not a complete overhaul. This is more of a reboot, I'd say. It's a fresh voice with fresh expectations. And we're close, and we have been close. But unfortunately, obviously, as you know, close isn't what we want here at Minnesota. And there's some changes that have to be made to make sure that we get over the hump. I told our players this morning, but we have to raise our level of compete and intensity. We have to raise our level of discipline and accountability, and we need to have that unwavering belief that this is truly the best place to play college hockey in the country, because it is. I said this to our players this morning as well, but if we want to be champions, we need to start acting like champions, practicing like champions, and training like champions. And I just have full faith and belief that this group is going to get that job done starting today, really. Again, I can't tell you enough how excited I am to be the next head coach of Gopher women's hockey, and for all your guys' support.
Thank you, Coach. We'll now start with the question session of this. If you have a question, go ahead. John, go ahead.
Greg, what you were here as Ohio State and Wisconsin kind of moved past you a little bit. What do you see as the biggest difference between the Gophers right now and those two programs?
Yeah, I think a couple things. This came up throughout the week as well, but both those two programs have clear identities to me. Wisconsin's identity currently right now, they have 4 players just won a gold medal on the U.S. team, and really they outskill people. They have talent. They have more talent than the majority of the rosters across the country right now, and we can humbly admit that about ourselves too. Ohio State has a clear identity as well, and their identity is how they play. They're aggressive. They suffocate you. They're in your face. They're on the edge, right to the edge, sometimes going over the edge, but you just know exactly what you're going to get every time you play against a team like that. I feel like that's been something that we're missing right now, is just a clear identity of who we are and what we're about as a team. And I think that's where you see the inconsistencies over the last few years. And you can see us, we beat Wisconsin, we split with Wisconsin this year, we beat Ohio State this year, but just the level of consistency hasn't been there as we know it should be.
Greg, how do you view your first opportunity at this level is at a program that has arguably been the 3rd best in the country and was judged that wasn't enough?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I love it. Maybe I'm crazy, but I'm a competitor. I like to win at everything I do, and this is no different. So, I have a pretty vast and expansive experience and this history of where I've coached different levels across multiple genders, across multiple divisions, and so on. And I think for me, I've been in programs where we've needed to rebuild. I've been in programs where they've had a ton of success, and I was trying to take it to the next level. And I just view this as another opportunity. I think just like our players that we recruit, they want to be here because we want to be the best in the country, and I'm no different as a coach.
Greg, what kind of identity do you want from this team?
Yeah, it's a great question. When you think of Gopher women's hockey players just in general, right, you think of fast, skilled, ton of depth. That's not going to change, right? That's not going to change. I think what we need to do is we need to have a little bit more of an edge to how we're playing. We got to have structure with how we're playing. To me, one of the greatest compliments is when all of you guys come and watch us play, you know what we're doing. You know how we play, you know what we're doing. And if another team's going to beat us at that game, then that's on us as coaches to adjust our style to combat that. But we're going to be fast. We're going to be in your face. When we don't have the puck, we're going to make sure that we're in spots so we can get that puck back as fast as we can. But it's just going to be a level of consistency and intensity at how we do things. And it's probably not going to be comfortable at times for our players, but we know that what they want and what we want as a program is championships. And in order to do that, that's what it's going to have to be.
So you want to play more like Ohio State does?
I'd say yeah, a little edge like they bring.
During the interview process, what were the kind of themes you were picking up from people talking to you about the position, and what they want to learn from you?
I think a lot of these questions are being asked right now. How Wisconsin, Ohio State, it's no secret what they've done these last handful of years. Why are we not at the same level as them as far as being in championship games and winning national championships and so on? And how am I going to be different? What's going to be different? I think a huge advantage that I have is that I was part of this staff for 3 years, but I haven't been on this staff for 20 years, right? So I've been able to see all of the wonderful things that Coach Frost has done, that just, again, the storied history and the traditions, the pride in Minnesota women's hockey. But again, I haven't been here for 20 years. So I've also had a first front row seat at the things that I feel like could be done differently or could be done to bring that consistency to what we're looking for, or to get back over that hump and start really, truly competing with the Ohio States and Wisconsin at that championship level.
Is there something unique about you that allows you to overcome that challenge?
Yeah, I think I have a blend of being a player's coach, where I'm the first person there that's giving fist bumps when they're doing something great. And I also think that I have part of that blend is someone that can put my thumb on them and keep my thumb on them and motivate them. And have those constructive conversations, those hard conversations, show them on video things that we're seeing or that I'm seeing that maybe aren't up to standard or up to par with what we need to do. Again, I keep using the word bite or edge, but I think that's just kind of that blend that I have a little edge and I have that little bite, but also being that player's coach that's kind of been part of this culture for such a long time.
Greg, how do you see your recruiting philosophy changing?
Yeah, I don't know that it'll change a ton. I think a couple things that pop up in my head right now is it's conversation. So, typically we're always trying to find the best, the elite of the elite. Kind of quote unquote, our fourth line is players that were first line players their entire lives, and now they just happen to be fourth line players because they're at Minnesota. Is there something to be said about having players that are true? Like, I'm going to skate out of my boots because that's what I do and that's what I've done my entire life. I don't know that answer right this second. I think that's conversation for me and my staff as we move forward with our recruiting. But I can tell you this, we love our recruits for 2026, the ones that are coming in this fall. We love our 2027 recruits and those commits. In our conversations throughout this past week through this coaching change, there's been zero waiver from those players that are committed to coming to us. And like I said, we're super excited about who they are and what they bring to our team.
Did it feel to you like Ohio State to bring these guys up again? Because when I covered them not too long ago, and when you saw them play at their best, you were kind of like, wow. Were they the first team to really start playing that way?
So great question. I've been on the women's side for 3 years, right? So for 3 years that I've been here, they've played like that. And they're different than other teams, for sure. They are different from other teams. I think, you saw this year when we played and we beat them here at home, we were able to punch them in the mouth as well, and they didn't like that either, right? So, we just got to be one of those teams that when teams come to play us, whether it's on our home soil or on the road, that when they're done with us, I don't want to play those guys again. Like, that was a tough game.
The women's game seems to be changing quite a bit. Is your experience in all kinds of hockey help give you a unique piece to this?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I'm biased, of course, but I think so. Like I said, I have an expansive background. I spent 16 years on the men's side before being here. You look at the PWHL and just the growth, the Olympics this past winter, like the growth of female, it might be the best it's ever been as far as coming into the women's game and just seeing it growing, right? Our numbers at the youth level are incredible right now. My 2 daughters play, and you just see we're at the rink each week at Bloomington, and all 3 rinks are full for multiple hours of all high-level female hockey players. I mean, it's incredible. At the PWHL level right now, you see some of their head coaches coming from the men's pro side too. And it's not that the men's coaches are better than the coaches that have been on the women's side the entire time. I think it's just I think people are appreciating the women's game more and more, and you're going to start to see some coaches, start to transition over to that side, kind of like I did.
You mentioned Bob Motzko and Brad Frost's influence.
Yeah.
Who else influenced you in hockey, even from growing up?
Yeah, I mean, my dad, for sure. So I grew up in California, actually, and where hockey wasn't huge. It's kind of right when Wayne Gretzky got there in the Wayne Gretzky era. And my dad, I think I can say this, but he didn't start playing hockey until he was in his 30s, but fell in love with it. And he taught me and my brother how to play, right? Rollerblading nonstop and stick handling and shooting. And I wouldn't be here without him, right? Just from your playing background and all that. So he's a huge influence. My brother's 5 years older than me. Was a much better hockey player than I was. Always looked up to him as a player. He's coached with me in the past. He was a huge influence as well. But I think you take things, everywhere you go and everywhere you coach with and for, you take little things that they do really well, things that you would maybe do differently, and you try to adapt it to your style when you're the head coach. And it's really no different in this situation with those two.
Where does Boom come from?
Good question. So I have, again, an older brother. I also have an older sister, so 5 and 7 years older. And when my mom was pregnant with me, they called me Boom Boom, and it's stuck ever since. It just shortened to Boom.
Greg, what's your favorite part of coaching?
The relationships, the people, being able to have that every Friday, Saturday. It feels like you're playing a game again, even though you're just standing behind the bench and just throwing them over the boards, but you still get in that atmosphere. Standing on the bench, hearing the anthem never gets old. Walking out to the bench and looking at the crowd for the first time each day never gets old. And I would say, honestly, just the strategizing, trying to find ways to to do what we're talking about right now, trying to find ways to compete with the top teams. Once you get to the top, trying to find ways to stay at the top, because now you know that you're the hunted. But again, it's so corny and cliche, but when you're working in hockey, like, it doesn't feel like you're working. I mean, it's actually pretty incredible that we get to do this for a living.
Greg, how did you find out that Frosty wasn't coming back, and were you surprised?
Yeah, we knew throughout the year that this was his last year on his contract, and we knew that we struggled a little bit. The Olympics took a lot out of us this year for one reason or another. I think everyone's got different opinions on why and how come that happened, but it's a reality of what happened. When we lost that last game against Northeastern in the NCAA quarters, and we actually played a really good game in that game. It just fell short on the wrong side of things, but. Just giving Frosty a hug after that game, and it just had a feeling like, this might be the last one for him. I don't think anyone hoped that it would happen. I think we were all still shocked that it happened. But we had conversations leading up to it that this might be the case.
Any more questions for Coach? Okay, thank you, Coach.
Okay, thank you.
We'll now bring Director of Athletics Mark Coyle back up. Mark will answer questions about Coach May and our women's program. And once all questions have been exhausted, then we'll take about a 2-minute break and bring Mark back in to answer questions about our men's program. So questions for Mark Coyle.
Mark Brett, legend of Boom. What made him the guy?
Well, it was interesting when we started the process, and Travis Cameron, who's standing right behind you, who kind of led the search with me in our search committee. One name kept coming up. And again, when we talk with people with USA Women's Hockey, that program, when we talk to people at the WCHA, other coaches across the country, alumni, the name that kept coming up was Boom. And I had the same question: how did he get the nickname Boom? But that name kept coming up. And when you see him talk, I hope you see he's competitive. And I felt like we need a sense of urgency with our women's hockey program. He has that sense of urgency, and that excites me, because there's no doubt, I have a lot of respect for Wisconsin. I have a lot of respect for Ohio State. We haven't played in a national championship game since 2019. We need to compete at the national level, and I think Boom understands that. He wants to compete at a high level, and he has that sense of urgency. So those are the things that attracted us to him.
Mark, did you have other candidates you interviewed?
We did, yeah. We again, Randy, we had an opportunity to talk to a lot of people. Again, I don't want to overemphasize this, but Travis and his team did a wonderful job identifying candidates. We were in communication starting last Tuesday when the job opened up. We worked our way through the weekend, had conversations over the weekend with different candidates, and landed on Boom. And again, we're thrilled to have him here at our program.
Mark, Nadine Mozzarella was the obvious first choice, or an obvious candidate. When did you find out that she was staying at Ohio State?
Well, we had a chance. I had a chance to communicate with Nadine. I reached out to a lot of people in terms of getting counsel and advice on the opportunity, and I think I found out over the weekend that she had agreed to a contract according to their athletic director down there. So we talked to a lot of different people.
When you look at staying internally, when you look at staying internally, Mark, how does that work by giving a team a new voice, a new leadership, yet he's been here for 3 years? How do you think that translates to the team and to the public on the outside and your fan base?
Yeah, no, a great question, Jim. Again, what I like about Boom, when you look at his background, his involvement with the under-18 team at that level, the 6-0 gold medal this year, and what they worked through there, and we talked with people with the again USA Hockey and others, he does have a different perspective. And again, I have a lot of respect for Coach Frost. I've been here 10 years. I knew Brad when I was here before, when I worked in the athletic department before, and have a lot of respect for Brad. And we had a lot of conversations. I think if you talk to Boom, Jeff Scott next to you, and others, we have had a lot of conversations on what do we have to do to compete at the national level. And as I got to spend time with Boom and watch him over the past few years, again, he has that sense of urgency. I feel like when we hire coaches, when we're most successful, we hire coaches who have that sense of urgency, that competitiveness. And again, we compete in a very competitive conference, and we have a conference that those teams are winning national championships and we're not. And why is that happening? And so Again, I think Boone brings in a new perspective, a new voice. It's hard to believe we made a change, and I think we're ranked 4th or 5th in the country. But again, that shows you what the expectations are. And I can tell you when we talked to Boone about that, he didn't back away at all. His knees didn't buckle. So again, we're very confident that his voice will be great to lead this program, and we're very optimistic about competing at the national level.
One thing more just on Brad. In the press release, there were things on and off the ice that you wanted to change. Can you clarify what off the ice meant with Brad?
Again, in my words, just a sense of urgency. You know, again, I think, you know, when you look at some of the other programs, and Boone talked about that, you know, what was our identity? You know, again, we wear the block in. Are we competing? You know, every night when we play, we're going to get a team's best shot, those type of things. So when we talk about on and off the ice, I believe it is a total cultural program. I think when you see teams that compete well academically, athletically, socially, really cool things happen. Our women's hockey program does that, but I just felt like we needed a new voice, new leadership to create that sense of urgency to help us get over the top. And again, I'm not allowed to talk about recruiting, but again, we're very excited about the classes we have lined up. I think we're going in a really, really good direction, and Boone was a big part of that. So again, I feel like we're taking the right step with him leading our program.
Mark, when did you see it going in the course, the course where you felt you had to make a change? What point of the season?
Yeah, well, again, I think if you visited with Brad and Boone talked about it too, I was very honest with the staff. We've had conversations for a couple of years now, and I would ask questions, you know, about, hey, what do we have to do to compete at the next level in terms of, again, we haven't competed for a national championship since 2019. I think Ohio State just played in their 5th straight national championship game. Wisconsin, I think, I'm looking at Paul, just won their 5th national championship, 5 out of 7. We want to be there. We want to be in that conversation. So again, we've had conversations well over 18, 24 months about this in terms of we've got to see improvement, especially at the national level and competing for those national championships.
Mark, Boone's familiarity with this program, how beneficial can that be moving forward?
I think it can be helpful. You know, again, I think he talked about it, you know, with his being here 3 years. And what I liked about him, when you look at his resume, and I think when we talked, and I forget, I don't mean to be dismissive, I can't remember who we were talking to, but they talked about he wins everywhere he's at. Right, and again, if you look at his background, he wins everywhere he's at in terms of that. So, what I like about his background is, again, he was here. He had a front row seat for a few years to watch what was happening. And again, as he said, we all do this when we work next to somebody, Dan. You pick up the good things, maybe things you would do differently. I think he has a fresh perspective on that, and I think he's going to give us a good advantage as we move forward.
Mark, why did you feel like you needed to make a move instead of just having a deeper conversation with Brad and just tell him, look, we need improvement here, here, and here?
Pat, I could not have been more clear with Brad.
Any more questions for Mark?
Mark, what stood out about Boone's answer when he said, you know, we got to compete with Ohio State and Wisconsin? What stood out to his responses versus other people you interviewed?
Well, first off, he's incredibly competitive. I mean, he looks like he's 19, but what I love about him is he is incredibly competitive. And again, we talk all the time, you know, we want to compete at the highest level. It can be done here at Minnesota, especially with our women's hockey program. And you know, Travis, when we started this process, you know, I talked to Travis, says, we've got to find somebody whose knees are not going to buckle. I mean, we respect everybody we play. They're all great, great programs, but there's no doubt that Wisconsin and Ohio State have separated themselves. And when we talked to Boone about that, his knees didn't buckle, and he talked about how he's competitive. And again, if you look at his track record, where he's coached at, what he's done, he wins. And he clearly understands that he's got to compete with all the programs in the WCHA, but we expect him to compete with Ohio State and Wisconsin at the highest level.
Sometimes you talked about when you let go of a coach, you have a folder that you turn to with names. Was Boone right there at the beginning, or is it something you learned about him during the process?
Well, no. You know, each year we update our list. You know, we have 22 programs, and I think to be prepared, you've got to update your list each year. I actually had a chance to get to know Boone when he was with the men's hockey program a few years ago as our ops. He left us and took on a new opportunity. And I remember when he left, people were bummed out because he was a good person to have in the hallways and around the department and those type of things. So that was a name that was on our list, of course.
Any more for Mark? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Mark.
You just heard it there from Minnesota AD Mark Coyle. The biggest reason why they needed to make a change: 0 title game appearances for the Gopher women's hockey team since 2019. And Mr. Coyle even acknowledged they are a top 10 program right now, but that just wasn't enough when you wear the Block M and you play hockey at Minnesota. You got to be the very best, and the Minnesota hockey program believes that they are best suited with Greg May, better known as Boom. We learned about his nickname. They called him Boom Boom when he was born, the youngest